Well, this afternoon it has become an annual ritual. Heavy rains equals flooding. The effect is drastic, and from loss of lives to loss of properties as well. But each and every year, the circle repeats itself. Already, we know that the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford Bapin, has directed the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, and the Works and Housing Minister, Francis Asenso-Boakye, to appear before the House and brief MPs on preparedness to prevent flooding with the onset of the rains. We'll take you to Parliament for updates shortly. First, though, let's take you to Circle Odona here in the Greater Accra region, where my colleague Michael Ashali has been engaging residents, coupled, and of course, many of them who've been compelled to scoop water from their homes each time there's a downpour. There's more in this report for you.
My name is Tete Hiford.
Ramatu Musa.
Kofi Keke. I'm a Ghanaian.
I'm Daniel Asiedu.
In a tale woven by the relentless rain, 5 individuals find themselves united across desperate locations, bound together by a shared harrowing ordeal. Living close to the Odo River that flows through Accra, they stand as witnesses to the havoc wreaked upon their homes and cherished shops caught in the unforgiving grip of flooding waters.
Sometimes it's me baby
Meet Unisa. She works as a beautician at a salon near the Circle interchange. She struggled to fund her business, but everything she worked for was lost in the rain. She recalls that one day, it rained so hard that she bolted with her colleagues and left her shop at the mercy of the floodwater.
The floodwater sometimes reaches my waist, and when that happens, we abandon.
It was not an easy decision. They got to live and later picked up pieces of their lives.
The last time it rained, we had already closed the shop. When we returned the next day, our appliances were soaked in water. We are scared, but we have nowhere to go. The only option is to endure.
I was new here when I first experienced the flood.
Justina Adam is a seamstress. She moved into the neighborhood not long ago. Her first flood experience is now an indelible memory.
I didn't know it was this bad. I was home when I heard the whole place had flooded, and when I got here, most of my things were destroyed.
Now, she packs the cloth high up on the special shelf in her shop to avoid a repeat of history.
I had to dispose of them out of fear, and now pack the items high up on those shelves, and the rest I take home.
The perennial flood plague promises to hit again, and their savior, the Odo drain, which houses mainly the Odo River, is already half full with silt.
Occasionally, the angry floodwaters rage and carry away all sorts of items and sometimes vehicles, especially that of drivers parked close to the drain at the Odona transport yard.
The rain is getting full. We just pack all our car. Just remove all our car from here. See the level where the river is. Then we just move the car. Then the station master will come and tell us that everybody should remove his car from here.
Every year, the Odona River overflows its banks, and that is even for areas that have a properly constructed drain with concrete. At Ngleshie, like where we are currently, that is not the case, making it much more easier for the river to overflow its banks into neighboring structures.
Ramatu Musa, a vendor of spices, operates her business just a stone throw away from the drain.
The water level can even reach my breast, and when that happens, we have to fetch our items from the surface of the water. I have been through it before. It even left me in debt last year. I live at Kaswa, so I was informed the place had flooded, but by the time I got here, it was too late.
Now, she's neck deep in debt, hoping to dig herself out one day.
It destroyed my items. My bisab leaves got wet, and that is about 3,800 Ghana cedis. I have been able to pay 3,000 Ghana cedis.
Many more people have lost fortunes to the annual floods.
We are still in Adabraka, a community very close to the Odona River. And this household right here has a peculiar relationship with floods. This wall that I sit on is arguably the only surviving one, because the others have all given way to the force of the floods. They have all tumbled down. And the residents share their story, at least the few remaining ones.
In Adabraka, we met two brothers, Kofi Keke and Daniel Asiedu. Their house now floods after every heavy downpour. More recently, the force of the water collapsed their walls.
Last year, the flood came, and it came around 2:25 p.m. or a.m. Yeah, but I heard boom at once, and I realized what is happening. I think it's a thunder, but I came from my room, and I see there's plenty water around here. It come and reach my ear, but I can't come out. But the moment I'm trying to come outside, and I see my wall has fell down at once. Boom! This is the wall. You can see the wall. This is the wall.
Their tenants have now taken the hard decision to vacate their rooms just before the rainy season.
If you look around here, no one is staying here. No one is staying here. No one. Everybody has gone. Everybody has gone. Now it left me, only me here now.
Okay. Ghana typically sees a significant increase in rainfall volumes during June, with average precipitation ranging from 200 mm to 250 mm. This makes June the wettest month in Ghana. And every one of these individuals are traumatized and experience heart palpitations when May gives way to June.
Yes, we are scared, but we have nowhere to go.
But right now we can't repair it because we are fear. We fear the rain. You understand?
We can't do anything about it when it rains. It's scary.
I've packed most of the clothes on a special shelf far from the reach of the water.
For some of them, no matter how much they have tried to solve the problem, it hasn't yielded much, and it appears their local authorities have given up on them.
Later air condition, they are eating our taxes money. The one wants our book of it, it doesn't make sense.
Still, we have to play the government to come and help us more because of the gutters.
They are appealing to the government to extend the length of the walls of the drains and help us desilt them.
This time, they want action before the rains set in, so that at least for once they can sleep knowing that the rains will not disturb them. They are calling on their members of parliament, their MCs, and government in itself to come to their aid so that they can win this fight. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
And there's more on this flooding issue, because in the western region, a 3-year-old nursery, 2 people, Angela Gamadi, has been killed after heavy rains at Bibeni in the Bibeni Bekwai municipality. Family members of the deceased Jacqueline in Nansuri indicated that after the rain, she went to pick the victim from school, only to be informed that the child fell into the drain and drowned. Well, her teacher at the victim's school, Owusu Roxon, has been offering some clarity as to what exactly may have happened. Well, we'll get to some updates on that later on today on the polls. We are also exploring the possible solutions to the perennial flooding situation. Divine Ahaji is a professor of construction and human sciences development at the Kwame University of Science and Technology with more than 20 years experience in teaching and research as well as project management. Joins us via Zoom now. Thank you, Prof, for your time. I'm wondering what may be your solution, knowing that there are a number of reports recommending to the authorities what exactly should be done about this perennial flooding issue. What else could be done just to solve this problem?
Thank you very much, and let me say good evening to your viewers, and also very sad listening to this depressing news that we hear every day, which has become an annual affair. You know, I think if we want to trace back to the issue about floods in Accra now, as you said, we have gone over this several years, and it's good you are asking the question, what should be the way forward now? And I can tell you that with what you are recounting now, including what has been presented, Accra has gone past the stage where we should be talking about we want to stop or prevent flooding. The conversation should actually now be around reducing the risk, but more importantly, we have gotten to the stage where perhaps we need to be discussing what we call living with water. Because if you look at the situation now, we have made so many mistakes in the past regarding infrastructure and how we have treated urbanization in terms of housing development and other things, which you all know. So that's why we don't want to go back to it. And so many of our people are living in flood-prone areas. We are aware of that. And we don't have the resources to say we want to resettle them. And we are adopting what we call the flood risk management approach, which is normally trying to use institutions to address the situation. And it has not worked for us up till now. But then, instead of bringing the community on board, especially regarding what we call resilience, which is now the trend that is actually supported by the Sendai framework, the narration has always been on government and infrastructure deserting without bringing the community into it. And I think this is where the conversation now must begin to change, for the people to know that where we have gotten to, government, of course, is supposed to be doing its part relating to the flood risk management approach, but communities should now begin to know that we have gotten to the stage where we must all learn to live with the water, so that communities now coming on board in terms of resilience strategies will also be incorporated seriously into our discussions. For instance, when you interviewed the people who talked in that sad situation, and very sad indeed, but it was interesting that towards the end, all of them were pointing to the government, and one could sense that there's no community mobilization issue within themselves as to what they can also do or as community to support government initiatives. And that's why I'm saying that this is where the narration and the conversation is hugely missing in our attempt in trying to address flood issues in the country. And I think to answer your question, it's an area that we need to take seriously. And then going forward, now the issue about nature-based solutions is also something which is very critical. If you look at Accra, densely populated, very highly little green areas, but there's no conscious effort to, as I said earlier, to bring the community still to be able to look at how nature-based solutions and green architecture can seriously be incorporated into our infrastructure development. And this is also because of the way our housing development approach is with this self-build approach where if you get your money, you build your house. But you are aware that there are many people in this country who haven't got resources to build what we call the flood resilient construction so that they will be able to build their houses such that it will be able to resist flooding. And so there's the need for support and integrated approach. But we have left all this and thinking that things can just happen in an ad hoc situation. And I think that is what has been the bane of our problem up to today.
How about a decongestion exercise? Is that something you would opt for?
Yeah, a decongestion is part of the solution, but that's why I said that it's all a matter of resources. And I think when you were speaking to the victims over there, some of them posed the question, where are they moving them to? If the place is available, that is fine. In fact, based on a recent study we did from my center and together with the Technical University of Munich in Germany, especially focusing on the outdoor catchment area, it was the same thing that came out because it turned out that the place is heavily congested and many of the flood-prone areas have been occupied. And we attempted to design what we call a large retention basin, which is one of the recommendations by the European Community for Environment and Water, that when it comes to such situations, we need to adopt what we call the integrated river basin approach, which might also include retention basin. And we found out that in terms of location, where to locate the retention basin, it was very difficult because the whole area was populated. And as you are asking, one of the suggestions will be to decongest the place or move the people. But the question was, where are you going to move them to? And so if government has the means to be able to find a place for them, I think that will also be a very good solution. But that should not be alone. Once there's this decongesting, we must make sure that we are now going back to a very systematic approach of the way we develop our settlements, including re-engineering. But then if we decongest and allow the status quo to remain, then I'm afraid we are not doing anything.
How about policy measures? What should we be possibly looking at? Because for instance, we know of the Garrid project. There are some, hurdles to that, particularly around the same area where you conducted the research, densely populated area. And so even the construction of the new drains are not moving as smooth as everyone would have wanted it to go. So what more policy measures will be very much necessary at this point in changing the narrative and trying to put a stop to all of these?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned policy because one would say Ghana is a country that is quick to go into policies and then when it comes to the implementation becomes an issue. But I would say that, yeah, it's a valid question. One area that I will still insist on is the issue of what is the policy guiding community involvement in flood resilience. So, for instance, when it comes to community issues, how far can communities go to mobilize themselves in terms of perhaps putting up a small drain in their community or diverting a particular stream that is causing problems in their area, or what should happen if they have to come together to want to develop a flood risk map for their community and all those things. These are things which have to emanate from policy issues to guide them so that they see what their roles are in this perspective. And that's what I've said earlier, that our narration and discussion when it comes to flood is always about putting up infrastructure to prevent flooding and also deserting. That is where the conversations always goes around. But then there's the need now, as you are saying, for us to begin to look at how the policy will tend to focus on what the communities can do to help themselves. And of course, they will always also welcome government support.
And speaking about personal responsibility as well, what can we do in that regard? Because some are helpless based on the community and the area, geographic area within which they find themselves. But if you're still prone to the flooding, what else could you do at your personal level to ensure safety? First of all, at least that's the ultimate aim.
That's I think that's why I said where we have gotten to now. Communities will first need to accept that once government is doing its part and it's still very difficult for us to solve the problem, you also have a very big role to play. And so if, for instance, you live in an area where flooding is an issue because people put refuse into the drains, it has to be a community effort where those things can be stopped. And so the first thing that one will expect to be a kind of community forum for people to engage themselves and begin to understand that where we have gotten to, flooding is not an individual affair anymore, but it affects all of us, and we all need to play a personal role in it. And then from there, if they need some technical support, then that is where they can channel their approach to government to come and also help in that perspective. I think when you spoke to one of the ladies, she said now when flooding is approaching, she has to pack some of her things at the higher level. And that is part of the resilience approach, which is going to what we call adaptation. And it is something that people have been doing it on their individual basis, but collectively, they need to share knowledge amongst themselves so that they can all come together and understand that when there's going to be a flooding, this is the way we have to approach things in a common way. And another important thing that we need to be looking at is the issue of response and recovery. So you can see that these people are very helpless, and they are asking where should we go to? We need to begin to look at this issue of living with water and begin to earmark areas which we can call evacuation centers, so that people are taken through a kind of rehearsal for them to know that when situations like this are happening, this is where we are all supposed to converge. And I think this is the time that maybe assemblymen in the areas must also be empowered to be able to play a very key role in the question that you just asked. And in ending, what I would say that based on a study that we did in Kumasi, which maybe I want to translate to Accra, where the findings were suggesting that MPs and chiefs and then assemblymen have an important role to play in this problem that we are facing. I think although the study was done in Accra, it has a reflection across the country. And it's important. I heard that Parliament is calling the Minister for Works and Housing to come to Parliament to answer questions. But I'm also saying that it's time for the MPs to move into their communities and share knowledge of the assemblymen and the chiefs or people who oversee the area to see how they can mobilize the community and also mobilize resources to bring the communities on board so that we can all begin to speak the common language when it comes to flood resilience, because flood risk management alone will not help us.
Professor Divine Nahyanji, thank you for spending some time with us here on The Pulse. Let's head to the Ngleshie Amanfro area, where residents have been cut off from the rest of the Ngleshie municipality due to heavy rains, which started yesterday. The road network leading to the community has been submerged. Maxwell Agbagba is our man on the ground, joins us with more on this. Maxwell, where are you now, and what's been the level of devastation going on there? Well, we'll get to Maxwell for you, but earlier he's been to the community and comes through with this report.
This is the main road that connects Peace Town to the capital and other adjoining communities. Life here has come to complete halt because the main road here has been rendered impassable. Many workers, school children are unable to go to school and their various workplaces because they simply cannot cross. They have been cut off. And these men who you see here did not go to work today. Some of them who are taxi drivers here in this community are unable to cross to the other side. Behind me is a stream that overflowed its banks and displaced many from their homes. A resident, Samuel Obinyako, has been telling how they managed to rescue 10 children. He says that for the time intervention, some lifeguards who were on standby, they would have died.
I was inside and I saw people shouting, screaming, and say, "Oh, let me come out." Even me, I wanted to go and buy something. And I was okay. I saw them screaming and I said, "Oh, wow." Then I went there to help them and I saw people coming up from their houses and they want to rescue people. So we gathered boys and also helped them to rescue some of the kids, like 10 kids. And doing that rescuing, and we saw a certain woman and the two kids drowning, like coming from they are in the water coming. So today I heard that they were rescued at this place. So I say okay, then fine. But people were calling me, how was it? I was thinking maybe the water sent them away. But today I heard that they are fine. So
hundreds of residents are not willing to risk it through this flood water. Many of them who have no choice are compelled to wade through it. I've been speaking to a man who had to carry his sick son behind him to the hospital. He says government should fix the challenge here. Okay, this is your child?
My child.
He's sick?
He's sick.
Okay, so tell us a bit about it.
Because I rain this morning before you are going, here be full of. Before I carry go, I go there, say body not feel well. When the check coming, so my son is sick, so that's why I go to him.
Okay. But you didn't get any car to get him to cross?
No car. No car.
So that's why you had to carry him in
carry
the
him go for hospital.
Okay. All the taxi drivers in this community who ply these roads to Peace Town and its adjoining communities are idle today. There's no work to be done. I've been speaking to Seth Obin, who is one of them. He's frustrated about the situation.
Yeah, but this is where we live for some time now. But yesterday, what happened was terrible, and we couldn't even to cross the river surf. It's not easy for us. Yesterday, around 9 p.m., it was terrible. People were coming from work and they couldn't problem like yesterday. So we want our MP to come to the area and to come and visit us. Since these problems happened, we haven't seen the MP around, especially the MC. Even if we don't know him, he have to come and take care of the situation so that we know that we have elders somewhere. But there's nothing of sort going on. So please, we are pleading to the authority to come and visit us to solve the problem.
Well, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kisford Magbin, has directed Finance Minister Ken Fureta and his colleague Minister, Works and Housing Minister Francis Esenso-Wachi to appear before the House and brief MPs on preparedness to prevent flooding with the onset of the rains. It comes after Minority Chief Whip Governs Kwame Abuja delivered a statement on the floor calling for an urgent action after yesterday's downpour, which left most communities flooded.
Out of the downpour yesterday, areas specifically Botiano, Ngleshie Amanfro constituency, which belongs to one of our colleagues, got heavily flooded, Mr. Speaker, and as a result, the news reports suggest that a lady and two of her kids are currently missing since yesterday. I take the opportunity to commend the agencies still working to hopefully find them alive. We are also aware that some people are injured and lots of properties have been damaged. Mr. Speaker, we want to take the opportunity to commiserate with our colleague, Honorable Sly Tete, who is a member of parliament from that area. I suspect he's within the area now, trying to do whatever he can do as a member of parliament to help his people. We also understand that areas like part of Ofankor and Ashalaja, some areas have been cut off completely because of the flooding. And Mr. Speaker, the rains have just started. The dam, Wager Dam, is yet even to be spilled. And this calls for this House to probably call upon our respected colleague, the Minister, responsible for Works and Housing, to apprise the House as to what steps he is taking to avert further damage and loss.
Well, member of the Works and Housing Committee, Andrew Derry, has blamed the recurring flood situation on the sector minister, who he accused of failing to live up to his responsibility.
It's huge. And you and I know the problem of Ghana, especially Accra. You see, for the flooding in Accra, we know it's perennial. It's something that happens almost every year. But as a people, I don't think we are investing enough to prevent it. I know there are people who deliberately cause some of these activities. Those who build on waterways, those who throw their waste products in gutters, those who construct even roads to their houses. They block some of the waterways. But I think as a people, we should have laws that work. It's just because we do not implement our laws. We all know that every year, as a ministry, we need to drain to dredge the drains, especially the odor. But for some time now, they would mention to us they have done the dredging, yet you go there and you don't see any activity going on. What is appalling is about the way the ministers talk. And that is why we think that the minister should come and answer some questions. We are aware that before Akufo-Addo became the president, he spoke so much about how he was going to handle issues in Ghana. When he became the president, he told us he was going to make Accra the cleanest city within 2 years. But the situation has worsened under his watch. If he was doing the job well, we wouldn't have been here today talking about it. It tells you that he's not doing the job well. You see, the person that this has affected, the member of parliament, he happens to be one of their members of parliament, a very vocal person. I know if it was someone else, that member of parliament would have been here talking. We should have been here making a lot of comments and other things.
Well, Speaker of Parliament Alvin Bagwe, who was furious about the situation, directed the Finance and Works and Housing Minister to come before Parliament by next week to detail their plans to stop Accra's perennial flooding.
Definitely give the instructions, and the instructions are to the effect that the minister responsible for works and housing be programmed by the business committee to appear before the House together with the Minister for Finance and to give us a brief on action being taken to make this a thing of the past. And so we expect that latest before the end of next week, these ministers should appear before us. If the substantive minister is not there, there is a minister of state at the Ministry of Finance who could come to represent him. I was informed that the substantive minister is traveled, but in case he's not available, the other minister could come to represent him. Honorable members, this is a very important subject matter, and I believe that one of the ways we could support national leadership to find solution is for us to pass the Budget Act. Why should they be desilting? We should construct structures in such a way that there are no open gutters. We should. the way we are looking at housing as if it's a private venture is wrong. The house you build is not for you. It's for the community. People come in at any time and sleep with you. And so the society has a role led by the state to provide shelter over the heads of people. That is a serious priority. Because after air, water, food, the next thing is what? Shelter. Shelter. But we rather spend a lot of money on useless things.
And thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse on the Journey channel. We'll be right back.